Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we have concluded our work here on Minmus, and we're just going to turn SAS on and we're going to head on out of here. We've got 258 meters per second left in this tank, so that's fantastic. We are out of here. And we'll head on over 90 degrees here. We're just heading for the horizon. We do not need much altitude at all on Minmus. So we will just position here and head on home. I'm not sure what actually occluded the sun there briefly, but sure, I guess that's okay. So we're going to be done with this momentarily. Oh, wow, look at that apoapsis height. That is a little bit more than I was expecting. We're not on the moon. We're going to turn around here, and we're actually going to bring that down a bit. We do not need it to be anywhere near this high. That'll be fine. And where are we in relation to Kerbal? This timing is okay, I guess. It's pretty non-great, actually. This timing is not great. So we should actually circularize this, and we can go ahead and do so. We'll circularize it to be about here-ish. Yeah, that'll do. And we'll position for that burn. This is only going to be 34 meters per second, so we'll go ahead and warp towards that. Wonderful. So we'll get in position as we leave the mint snowball behind. And we'll just fix our angling a little bit here. It doesn't actually matter that much when we burn this. I'm going to burn it now. And we'll get this last little bit of Delta V burned. This is good enough. And we will go ahead and get our burn home right about here. Now that's going to be after an orbit, but that's okay. We want to be burning back, basically increasing our apoapsis on the line to Kerbal. No, it's the other way around. We want to be over on this side. I'm a moron. We want to be burning so that our apoapsis is away from Kerbal. This is how it works. There we go. So the faster we burn, the lower our periapsis gets. That's what we want. Perfect. So we'll head on in and get this to around that 40-kilometer mark, as we have been doing. We're definitely going to do a more interesting mission after this one. We've been doing some repeats, but we needed to clean up these contracts. So that'll be fine for now. We'll get that done. And we're probably going to go for Gilly next. We need to think about whether this is enough Delta V to go to Gilly or not. It probably is. Probably. We'll position for this burn, and we'll warp to it. That's, of course, a bit in the future, so we'll focus on getting home for now. Jebediah, Haggard, and Bill all need to return. And we'll burn this. Let's see, that's going to be T-minus 22.5 seconds is when we want to burn that. So we will position and burn now. Excellent. This is the correct direction to go here. I love it. Also, this is a really kind of a neat setup here with the moon and Kerbal so close together. And we're about to occlude the sun here with Minmus. That's neat. I like it. We've almost got a conjunction going on here with 4 things in a row with Minmus, us, Moon, and Kerbal. Would have been neat if we had actually managed to pull that off, but, you know, not even attempting to. So, that's fine. We're going to bring this periapsis on down. And we'll burn a little bit further. There we go. That'll do. So we will set our focus on Kerbal, and we'll come on in to about here. And we'll do our good old radial retrograde burn to make things just that much quicker to land. Excellent. Bring this around to be something around here. Actually, we could probably bring it a little further. I mean, this is completely fine. Hilarious. So this point actually becomes our apoapsis. Yeah. That's pretty funny, actually. We'll burn it to be something kind of like this. It's not, you know, ideal, but That'll definitely work. This is a lot of Delta V, that's for sure. But we've got it to spare, so I'm not concerned about that. We have lots of Delta V left in this thing, to the point where I wouldn't mind burning some off. We're going to do a re-entry burn as well, and that'll be just fine. Excellent. Actually, before we continue this auto time warp, I want to do a couple of things. We need to clean up a little bit of science here. So we're going to hop over to the moon, and we are going to grab our moon science station, because we need to transmit some extra science here. So we will certainly do that. We need to manually transmit the science from our mobile processing lab. We can transmit about 140 of that. Actually, Thumblurf, EVA. We'll keep that experiment, and we'll hop in. Excellent. Now, we can review that data and process that in the lab from that EVA report. Cool. So we'll store that, and then we'll transmit our existing science. Not enough electric charge. Fair enough. We're on the dark side of the moon right now, I think. Or we're actually just not in a great place for solar panels right now. Yeah, we are having some electric charge here. We can turn the SAS off. And we can allow partial. May compromise data integrity. Yeah, that's true. We should probably warp here for a little bit. This electric charge isn't increasing. What is burning electric charge here? Good thing there wasn't anything, you know, actually staging there, because I accidentally staged. We're going to put our Probodobodine Hex into hibernation for now. And what else would we want? I mean, we'll need to, like, stop research here, maybe? Yeah, that's what we need. So we need to stop our research here and allow our electric charge to build up. And we'll allow this transmission to begin. Oh, we need to transmit our data here. Not enough electric charge. We do allow partial. There we go. And now can we do it? No. Well, we can allow our electric charge to build up. We should send a power module up here. That is definitely a thing that we should do. Oh, another thing that we can do is we can hibernate this Probodobodine Octo. There we go. Now we're building up some electric charge. That's what I like to see. Cool. So I'd like to get this science back, and we'll start uploading that. Aborting transmission. Okay. Never mind. We're going to need to send power modules to these guys. That's acceptable. We can do that. We're going to hop over to the lander then. And those modules are going to need to... I mean, they should be pretty quick and easy, in theory. There's not going to be too much to them. We'll just go ahead and warp to this particular burn, and we'll bring these guys back. So that does mean that the power modules are going to be our next mission, because we're going to need to be able to get that science off of those stations before they cap out. They clearly require more power, and that is acceptable. So we're going to want to burn this at T-minus 2 minutes and 14.5 seconds. We will go ahead and burn towards that, or rather, not burn, but time warp towards that. 2 minutes and 14.5 seconds. We'll continue to warp here for a moment, and now is when we burn. Cool. It's going to be a pretty lengthy burn, so we will physics warp. And we're going to bleed off quite a lot of speed here. If we end up hitting the atmosphere before we complete this burn, then we will... I don't think we will. But if that ends up happening, then we will just flip to retrograde. That would be fine. That said, we are dropping. That's to be expected, of course. Our periapsisite is actually not within the atmosphere right now, so that's not a concern. That periapsisite, as we get to the second half of this burn, will start to drop. Pretty soon here, I'm going to be considering dropping the physics warp. Because we're drifting off of the node a little bit, so we'll want to deal with that. We're still going up on the periapsisite, but that will be done very soon. We're going to need to hit this node a little bit more accurately. There we go. And yeah, periapsis height is now dropping. Oh, that's twitchy. With the physics warp on, that is so twitchy. Okay, we're just going to do the rest of the burn without the physics warp. Fantastic. Okay. This is probably good enough. We can lock surface retrograde at this time, and we can warp our way on in. We're going to be bringing back all of this. So we're going to get rid of this decoupler and this decoupler in the stack. We're not going to be firing those. And we will continue to warp on over. We're actually not to the apoapsis yet, which is kind of funny. Our apoapsis changed pretty dramatically, and we might be coming down fairly close to the desert launch site. We're not going to be coming down super close to the KSC, I don't think. We'll see. For the time being, we will warp forward until we hit the atmosphere, and then we'll orient retrograde. Okay. We'll grab ourselves our atmosphere analysis here. May as well. And we'll collect that data. We could grab another one. I'm not sure there's a huge amount of point to it. We can always grab that later on. Is that Minmus? It's rare to see Minmus from this vantage point, but that looks like Minmus to me. Is it? Yep, that's Minmus. Cool. Minmus is tough to see. We'll go ahead and grab this upper shores and collect that. Fantastic. And we can do a re-entry burn whenever we want. For right now, I'm going to hold off on it. Just because I'd like to do... Well, we don't need to do more aerobraking. We could burn right now if we wanted to. But I kind of want to allow us to approach the KSC, because the closer we land to the KSC, the more funds we get back from recovery, so that makes things a little more convenient. So we'll start up our burn as we get a little closer to the KSC. We're not going to, land on the KSC. That's something we could do if there was no atmosphere here, but there is, and because of that, we don't really have very good thruster weight, so we're not going to try any of those sorts of shenanigans at this time. It's going to be mostly over water the whole way in. We can physics warp for the time being, and I'm completely comfortable with doing that right now. Okay. We're going to drop our physics warp here in a second. Well, maybe more than a second. We're going to need to cross over here, and then we're just going to try to land on, the same continent as the KSC. Okay. So we are starting to see some plasma here. We are well over this, what would we call this? Maybe a gulf? I wouldn't really call that an ocean necessarily, but a gulf might not be a bad thing to call that. Something along those lines. We are slowing down, but not tremendously. That's fine. We're just aiming for this land over here. Impact time is not very far away. And we might lose our spectrovariometer. That would be a shame if we did, but we'll see if we do. So we're going to burn fairly soon here, although aerobraking might bring us down on the correct continent. In fact, I think it will. Now that I look at it here. I'm pretty sure it will. For now, I'm not too concerned about this thermometer. Yeah, current trajectory would be up here, which isn't really what we're going for. Although, that's the Woomerang launch site on the other side of the planet. That's fine. Okay, so we're going to be over this momentarily. Let's go ahead and do our re-entry burn now. So we're burning a little bit here, and we should be slowing down much more rapidly, and indeed we are. We'll grab what atmospheric analyses we can. There we go, over grasslands. Nice, and we will collect that in the experiment storage unit just in case the spectrovariometer burns off. And we'll see what else we can get. We're slowing down nicely at this point, and we're definitely going to land on this kind of combination Africa and South America looking continent. That's, of course, where the KSC is. So that is absolutely fantastic. We're down to 1.6 kilometers per second. It looks like this is just going to be grasslands pretty much the whole way, but that's acceptable. KSC is off over here. You can see just barely the VAB there. I like it. So we're not too far away. And we're continuing to slow down a bit. So 1.3 kilometers per second now. And we've still got 300, almost 400 meters per second in these side tanks. But we're going to keep aero braking here. And, of course, burning. Burning braking as well. At this point, we can extend our landing legs. It's fine. And we're going to be able to fire our parachutes quite soon. Drogues can now be fired. And shortly the main. Hey, another atmospheric analysis? Okay. We can't fire the main quite yet. Now we can. Okay. Let's go ahead and physics warp towards the ground. So yeah, we've definitely got a little bit more work to do on our stations. That's clear. I mean, they're not the greatest of stations. They weren't ever intended to be. 16 meters per second, 17. That's a little speedy. Okay. And we're coming down on these slopes here. We need to grab what data we can and grab flying low over the highlands. There we go. We'll collect that. And we'll go ahead and throttle up to try to slow down a little bit more. But at this altitude, it's very inefficient to run this engine. I'm actually surprised that we didn't lose the engine there. That was a fairly... Ooh. The parachute's still slowing us down as we slide downhill. We're to grab our atmospheric analysis here. Can we recover while sliding? No, is the answer. We cannot recover our craft. I wonder if we can bring it to a halt by rolling here. We're giving it a go. And we can collect all of our data here and grab another atmospheric analysis. I guess we, at this point, should probably cut the parachute. Okay. It's not like it was doing much other than slowing us down. I mean, we could throttle up here. I'm hoping to get us to tip over. That's what I'm trying to do here. I'm also unsuccessful. Well, we be sliding. I'm going to quick save here. Oh, we can't while moving over the surface. Right. What I wanted to do was quick save and then physics warp to get down this hill a little faster. But physics warp can do some weird things. Hence the quick save. But okay, I guess this is our life now. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to pause the recording for a moment. This is going to be quite a while to get down to the bottom. So I'm going to pause the recording here and I will catch up with you guys when we are back at the bottom. And here we are, about 10 minutes later. We have made it most of the way down the hill. We're still moving at 0.1 meters per second, but that is good enough. I was able to time warp for some of that. It was fairly stable on 2x. Things got really weird on 3x. It actually auto-saved a couple times in there, which was nice, but we got some science on... Wow, words are suddenly very difficult. We got some science from Minmus back from... Minmus? That's very words. I don't even... We got that figured out, so that's wonderful. I'm going to have Hagguard EVA here and grab a surface sample. We've still got a little bit of science we can grab from that, and we may as well do it again, honestly. We'll collect that, and we'll have Hagguard hop out and grab it again. Oh, did he grab it that time? I'm not actually sure. Grab it, and yeah, we're good. Okay, so we will recover that vessel. That definitely took far longer than I had hoped for it to settle down there, but it did in the end settle, so that's wonderful. We'll head on back, and we need to start work on our power module. That is very clear. But first off, how much science do we have? A lot. Actually, we have 1480 science. So that's wonderful. We may want to upgrade this. Yeah, Let's upgrade our R&D to max level. That allows us to get any tech that we want here. We could grab very heavy rocketry. I usually find that I don't really need, well, sometimes the vector is useful, but I find that I really don't need the very heavy rocketry. There's nuclear propulsion here. Now, what I'm really interested in is getting to ion propulsion. Prototype Octo 2 is a pretty good one. A better relay antenna would be pretty helpful as well. Remote guidance unit, that's a very good one. Okay. Specialized electrics into a rechargeable battery bank into RTGs. Where exactly is ion propulsion? This is it right here. So we need unmanned tech for this. We can grab that. And then we could grab ion propulsion. That'll give us the electric propulsion system and some xenon containers. Wonderful. And we can also grab ourselves remote guidance units. I'm very pleased with that, actually. That gives us some good things to work with. We're going to want those for some of our longer-term projects. For right now, we're probably not going to make a huge amount of use of them, but we definitely need to get some power modules out there. So we're going to design our power module from scratch here. We're going to use our... Let's see, what is the width of this for a fairing? This is like a little bigger than a pomegranate. Okay. What about this guy? Yeah, that's the size I wanted. Okay, fantastic. A remote guidance unit has an RTG included, and we definitely want to put in some batteries on this thing. Some 2.5Ks would be fine. Actually, if we're going to go with 2.5Ks, we may as well go with the larger remote guidance unit, right? So that'll be fine. We're going to put some 2.5Ks in here, and we're going to bring how many of them? I'm thinking at least 4 for our power module. And then we're going to want some Gigantors. Now, I'm only going to put a couple of Gigantors on here. I feel like, ooh, that's an awkward angle to want to go on at. We could put the Gigantors here. And then we are going to, of course, need a docking port up here. So that's fine. We will go ahead and put that in. That will need to be a docking port junior. And I think we'll have some extra space here to make a bit of a gap. So what do we want in that space? Well, that's a good question. We could have RCS in that space just to be on the safe side. An even larger tank than that. Not that large. Like that. And then maybe an adapter here. That's a fuel adapter. We really don't need a fuel adapter. I mean, we could bring a fuel adapter that doesn't have any fuel in it. That's an option. And that would be simply for adapting to the size. That's a fuel adapter as well, but we would need not this size. What is the size of adapter that we would want? Do we have it? We may not. So we may just have to call that good. And this can be filled up with fuel once we arrive there and give the station a little bit more fuel to work with. So I think that that's reasonably okay. No real problem there. And similarly, we're going to bring along a... is this Rockamax size? No, this is not Rockamax. That size? Okay. It's like... This is probably overkill on the fuel. But that's okay. We're going to then put on, I don't know, not a Kodiak. I would love to put a Poodle. It's not a Rockamax size, though. So what is actually the vacuum-efficient engine for this size? Not a Spark, I can tell you that. Kodiak is not vacuum-efficient. Skipper is not vacuum efficient, and that's Rockamax size. We may not actually have it available, in which case we might want to go with just a Terrier. Or we could go with a bicoupler of like 2 Terriers, or maybe like quad Pugs or something. Quad Sparks. It's an option. So we could do like an engine plate here. That would be what, an 1.8 meter fairing? Yeah. So we'd have like quad attach nodes. And then something like quad Sparks. Like that. Now, what would that thrust to weight actually be over Kerbal? Oh, I did not mean to remove that. So that thrust to weight is actually less bad than I was expecting. But I think we can cram more onto here. So we would have like 4x1. What about like 6x1? I mean, that's a theoretical... Oh, that didn't go. Apparently it doesn't like that. Okay, so what if we just had it be... No, it would have to be 6x1. Yeah, it doesn't like that. So that would need to be probably a different engine. And it wouldn't be a pug. That definitely wouldn't fit. We could just have it be like this. It's not great. But I mean, it's a decent thrust to weight. And how much delta V would that be? 3,000 delta V just in this would be more than enough to get us anywhere. We could put on another pair of Gigantors. I wouldn't want that many. I really only want it to be a pair of Gigantors. Like that. So this would be essentially the base power module here. What else would we potentially need for it? I think literally nothing other than a way to deliver this monstrosity. So we would have these retracted when we launch. We don't need a fairing here, I don't think. And then we need a decoupler down here. So, can we change the attach point of the shroud? Yes, we can go to like a short variant here. So we would do something like that, and then we put a decoupler on. We would need a 1.8. Yeah, like that. That's about what I wanted to go for. Okay. So now we need to deliver this thing into orbit. And how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to need to adapt this up to a Rockamax, if we've got a fuel adapter for it. Let's see here. That's just a regular adapter. So a fuel tank adapter for the Rockamax would look like that. That's a Rockamax adapter for it. So that'll be fine. And then we would put in probably just like an XT30, or rather an X232. Something like this. This would be our second stage. And we put a poodle on there. Okay. And then we put a decoupler on here. This would be a Rockamax sized decoupler. So a TD25. There we go. And then I'd just go for like a pair of Jumbo 64s. This is a big boy rocket. There's no doubt about it. But we're delivering a heavy payload. Now, we could not deliver this fuel if we wanted to. We could even potentially do this. We'll see what our weight looks like once we have our actual rockets on here. I like these tanks orange. They will be orange. Perfect. And we are going to put a mainsail on this, of course. I'm a big fan of the mainsail engine. There it is. Fantastic. So what's our thrust to weight here? 1.14. Surprisingly good out of the box. Now, we're going to want some strap-on boosters, so we'll go ahead and do that. We're probably going to do a very similar setup to what we've done with the other lifter. So we would put the radial decouplers like there, and then we would put... Probably kickbacks would be fine. What's that thrust to weight? 1.53. So kickbacks are a little on the small side, so we would go for Pollexes here. Or perhaps Thumpers? No. Kickbacks are better than Thumpers, aren't they? 593. Yeah. So we'd have to go for Pollexes here. That's okay. We can definitely do that. We'll bring these Pollexes down so that their attach point is about here. That's actually pretty decent. We'll give them nose cones. That's too big of nose cones. We'll give them better nose cones. There we go. And we will, of course, strut this together over here. About like so. And we'll call that the power module. Okay, what's our thrust to weight looking like? We'll need to combine these stages together. Cool, 1.66. So that's about right. I like it. And then this stage here, that decouples, and then this can be combined together. There we go. And then this can be combined together as well. And this decoupler here, that's actually an engine plate. And we kind of don't ever want to use that. Perfect. Now we have this RCS tank, and we don't have any RCS. We should probably fix that. Okay. Just checking to see if the specific impulse on these are actually different. They aren't. So we're just going to put like probably 8 RCS thruster blocks on this. We could definitely use a lot of thruster blocks. I'm also going to put in 1 more reaction wheel on here. That's that's a large reaction wheel. We need a medium reaction wheel. So that will give us a better command and control there. And that'll also give us a little bit more leeway here with our docking. So that'll be fine. Wonderful. And with that, it is well past time to put a cut in here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to see if we can get 2 of these guys, 1 to each of our stations. This may be ambitious for 1 episode, but we'll see. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and let us venerate those who have already left their offerings. Thank you to all the channel members for supporting this video. It's a little awkward when we don't actually have council members. Hopefully that will change in the future, but for now we don't. Spartan News is, of course, our member in the shout-out tier here, and everyone else, which currently only includes the 1. And that's absolutely fine, but hopefully that'll change in the future. And of course, thank you to you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, click the join button below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.